Okay.
Welcome, skeleton pirates, frog people, and homicidal robots, to episode 433 of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 21st of December, 2021, and featuring The Infinite Quest, written by Alan Barnes, and starring David Tennant as the Doctor, and Freema Agyeman as Martha Jones. I am Bill Sylvia, the one in black, and apparently there are at least 5 different versions of how to pronounce Freema's last name on the internet, and I can't find any footage of her actually saying it. With me are Randy Ronson McCulloch,
I go with Agyeman.
Alex Fireheart,
Well, that's a marked improvement.
and Mad Matt Winchell.
Remember, an empty search history shows more than a full one. Until we meet again.
Okay. Just means you know how to clear your history.
Again, an empty history shows more than the full one. Thank you, Skeletor.
I'm assuming we won't get VOD muted for the dee jingle, but
No, because you did it with your
never
mouth, and
know.
it's nowhere near exact to the original.
I've at least heard what may or may not be an urban myth of people getting muted for humming songs, so you never know.
It's an urban myth.
Yeah.
As a person
I
who
think
does
it's-
covers, trust me, most of
Yeah.
them get through.
Fair.
Yeah. I mean, I forget if
So how's
YouTube's
everybody's
still
week
stingy
been?
about that, but yeah. My week's been like off and on. Like yesterday was particularly frustrating. Like work was full on already, but one of the women at work snapped at me for no reason, and it was just like, oh. I have a notoriously short fuse, so she is lucky I didn't give it right back to her.
I have been working every day at work since Thursday.
Oh,
I'm about to finally have
Ugh.
off after tomorrow. Thank God.
how much of that was scheduled?
All except for like, I think 2 or 3 days originally, and then I think the hours today got extended from what they originally were. Good thing I was there. One of the guys who hasn't been working until recently is now free from college, which is why he's back to work. And the other gal that showed up today, she's new, so we were helping train her a little bit while we were running around doing everything else.
So hopefully she sticks around long enough to give you
She's
some time to breathe.
already a week and a half in, so it's training her on the various things she's part of, because she's also technically partially kitchen staff. And she's and earlier this week she had her first week of cooking chicken. Oh boy!
I think my rule of thumb in training more or less was if somebody sticks around for a month, then they're probably going to stick around for at least 3. Whereas for that first month, literally they could leave at the drop of a hat, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, at this point I think it's Twitch that's acting up.
Oh?
Lost 4% of frames now.
Oh.
Ugh.
So for my own week, I realized that I did my to-do lists for the week, and I realized that I hadn't actually given myself time to do anything fun while I was on break. So I was like, you know what? I should, do something. And I was kind of inspired by the fact I follow the webcomic Questionable Content, and they recently revealed that a robot that was introduced about 4 years ago out of universe was 2 years old in universe, and that inspired me to go through 18 years of strips and start trying to construct a timeline. So I have notes on. I completed going through the strips. I put together notes. It's not done because there are certain things where I was like, these things have to be between 90 days and 100 days apart from one another. And there's notes like that, so I need to kind of straighten things out. But I have gone through all 4,000 or so strips and taken notes on them. So that was, clearly the majority of my week, other than sleeping and eating.
I will say as shitty as my mood got yesterday, it was also vastly improved once I got home because someone I was chatting with, I brought up the fact that as part of wanting to get more exercise, but fuck going outside, I'm a ginger. What I like that I wanted to get eventually save up for a treadmill, and they were like, nah, go for a rowing machine. And I looked up how much a rowing machine that would support my weight was versus how much a treadmill that would support my weight was. And a rowing machine that I could find that was the cheapest was like almost $400, whereas a treadmill that could support my weight and have a decent distance away from my weight would be like over $1,000. So I'm like, holy thank Christ, you just saved me a lot of money.
Right.
I'll go for that now, thanks.
I was gonna say, I think I looked up treadmills once, and 400 would be pretty cheap, I think.
Well, this is Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I could be wrong, but either way, it would either be close to 1,000 or like over to actually support like far enough away from my weight, but over it that because like the rowing machine I found that was very quickly that was like $400 can support up to 150 kilos. I forget how much that is in pounds, but like probably over like the higher 200s or like over 300 pounds, possibly.
It's 330 pounds.
There you go. And I'm like lower 100, so I'm like, I think the last time I weighed myself, I was like 104 kilos. It's like over 220 pounds. I know that much. So yeah, I was like, oh, thank God. This can both support my weight very easily and is also way cheaper than the treadmills I was looking at. Thank God. I will take this option. I mean, when I can afford it, I'm pretty broke at the moment.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the New Year's sales on Steam to hit my pocketbook because these several presents are coming out of there.
I haven't done much this week except for on Sunday I took Matt and my friend Barry to go get his booster shot across town. That was the first time out of my little hobbit hole in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And went to Portillo's after that, went back, and I may have gotten a slight cold from it. God damn it.
That speaking of colds and other illnesses, I found out that the guy that trained me on how to work nights at my job, his mom apparently got COVID from somewhere, and now he's tested early and was found to have it.
Yeah.
So, so that's why I got some additional hours this week, and also the gal who was there to help guide me through learning new stuff on Register when I first came back, also has gotten COVID this week.
Oh.
So I'm just looking around going, holy smokes, that's at least 6 of us in the building now.
You know, I remember when you were like, oh yeah, I'm in too small of a town. We won't get COVID.
I'm in too small a town. We wouldn't get COVID except that my mom got it from work.
Or are they doing are they testing everybody else on staff, or do they have tests available?
Like tests available, not that I'm aware of. Like I said, they happened to catch one of them early, and the other one just out of the blue is like, you seem oddly ill. You should definitely be allowed to go home early. And she apparently then went and got tested, and that's how we found out about her.
I know there's supposed to be tests you can take home and for whatever you feel like you need it, that are supposed to give results in 15 minutes now. but I haven't gone out and looked for them.
I haven't heard a single thing about that sort of thing, so I don't know.
No, I've only heard about it on like Twitter and that.
All right. So I think we can actually move on to tonight's show.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right. So we've got birthdays.
Some news.
Yeah, okay. I was just taking a look because somebody added an article on me. Birthdays, news, and then our summary review, final thoughts, and our ratings. No geek talk tonight because we've all been busy with other stuff.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We've been distracted by YouTube.
And webcomics.
Yep. So moving on. Birthdays. First birthdays on the 16th is the birthday of Nicholas Courtney, who played Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart from 1968 to 1975, again in 1983, twice, again in 1989, and again in 2008. Would have been 92, but died in 2011 at the age of 81. 2011, that black year.
And then he
The
cameoed in 2021. At least I'm assuming that was a recording of him.
I haven't taken stock footage into account. There'd be a lot more dates if I did. 17th saw the birthday of Bill Pullman, one of our honoraries, who played Oswald Danes in Miracle Day. Is better known for being Lone Star in Spaceballs or the President in Independence Day. He turned 68. Also the same day is the birthday of Ernie Hudson, who played Stuart Owens in Miracle Day, but is best known as Winston Zeddemore in Ghostbusters. He turned 76. On the same day is the birthday of Jacqueline Hill, who played Barbara Wright from 1963 to 65. She would have been 92, but died in 1993 at the age of 63. The 19th saw the birthday of Matthew Waterhouse, who played Adric from 1981 to 82. He turned 60. And yesterday saw the birthday of Jacqueline Pierce, who played Cassini in The Two Doctors in 1985, but is best known as Servalan in Blake 7. She would have been 78, but died in 2018 at the age of 74. So, happy birthday, Nicholas, Bill, Ernie, Jacqueline, Matthew, and Jacqueline again. Fortunately, there's been no deaths reported. So we can move on. Apparently, we've got some specials news. There have been some leaks as to who the writers and directors are for the upcoming specials. We know, of course, that the one in 2 weeks is called Eve of the Daleks.
Yep.
Written by Chibnall, directed by Annetta Laufer. We've already told you guys the blog for this a couple weeks ago, so I'm going to skip that.
Right.
And moving on, the Spring Easter special is written by Chibnall and Ella Road and directed by Hualu Wang. Apparently filming took place on Sully Beach and is believed to be featuring Chinese pirates.
The same person that was in Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Maybe.
I don't
Chinese
think so.
pirate queen? I don't know.
Zheng Yi Sao.
I don't have much Pirates of the Caribbean experience, so maybe I'm just way off.
The Pirates of the Caribbean were 15th through 17th, or excuse me, 16th through 18th centuries.
Oh, so it would not have been then. Okay.
Yes.
I just remembered that I watched a scene that had a Chinese pirate.
Yeah, would have been somebody different. Either that or they really took somebody out of historical context.
I mean, they were standing right next to a fucking Cthulhu man, so. Historical accuracy is not what we were looking for.
Yep. So that's all we know about that one. And then the Centenary special is written by Chibnall and directed by Jamie Magnus Stone, who's directed several episodes of the last 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Filming, we know, at least took place in Cardiff Park. And we know that Jodie Whittaker, Mandeep Gill, John Bishop are all going to be there, but so will Bradley Walsh as Graham O'Brien. This is the episode that Jodie Whittaker regenerates, so...
And if if Bradley Walsh is there, there's a very good chance that our modern day companions will depart and leave for their own homes alive in the episode.
Maybe.
Maybe. That's really all the news we have.
Yep.
We don't know the extent of Bradley Walsh's involvement in the Centenary. He might just be there for a cameo. He might not.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is all the real news we have other than Big Finish. Big Finish had one new release this week, and that is The Year of Martha Jones with Freema Agyeman and Adjoa Andoh. And it particularly seems to go through Martha Jones's trip across the world at the end of Series 3.
If I remember right, that was the actor for Martha's sister, right?
Mm-hmm. I can't remember.
Ah.
But it does seem to focus on her time in the Western United States. Yeah, Martha's family never impressed me enough to remember the actors' names.
The actress it has listed there is the one who played Martha's mom.
Mom. Okay. So yeah, other than that, I don't know that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's basically Martha running around trying to escape the Master's minions and, basically tell a story of hope. Oh, I do know a little bit else. Apparently, one of the guest stars on this is Marina Sirtis of Star Trek fame.
Yeah.
A tidbit that I saw about this being discussed on Facebook, I think it's a prose story set during that same year that never happened, and this is confirmed not to conflict with that in any way by I think the writer. I'm not entirely sure. It was secondhand information from somebody else that worked at Big Finish.
Yeah, if they ever did this on the big screen, it would probably conflict, but
right.
Big Finish is usually pretty good on not conflicting with other media. Anyway, that's the only thing out this week, so that's all the news we have. So, being about half hour into the podcast, we're going into our summary. This is going to be a short episode tonight,
Yep.
folks.
Happens.
And just tell me when the stopwatch is ready. Have bullet points. I have no idea if it's going to be under 5 minutes, but I think I'll pull it off.
All right. Ready?
Yep.
Starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
The Doctor and Martha foil an intergalactic despot named Balthazar's plan to compress all life on Earth into diamonds. It seems to be some point in the future. Martha picks 3 random numbers, which the Doctor enters as TARDIS coordinates, but the TARDIS is then plucked out of space-time by Caw, Balthazar's large sentient parrot-like bird, who tells him that years later, Balthazar was released from prison and is now on a quest for the infinite, a relic from the dark times that is said to give you whatever you desire. And to keep Balthazar from getting it, the Doctor and Martha need to follow a trail of clues to the infinite. After they leave, we find out Balthazar and Ka are actually working together in order to follow the Doctor. On their next stop, the Doctor and Martha are taken prisoner by a pirate gang and marked for execution under suspicion of being oil company spies. The first mate actually does work for the oil company, thinks he's doing the best for his business by saving the Doctor and Martha, which leads to a mutiny and all sorts of ultra-violence. By the time which is over, only the pirate captain named Calico and the Doctor and Martha survive. Calico's earring is the next Dragon Ball. Calico tries to leave in an escape pod, but crashes and appears to have been murdered. The Doctor takes her Dragon Ball, and they follow it to the next location, which is the middle of a conflict between human colonists and invading aliens. The human military has an airstrike incoming, but the Doctor pretends to be a pirate and surrenders as a way of starting negotiations. Meanwhile, a gun runner who has the next Dragon Ball also seems to have mysteriously died. The Doctor and Martha then go to Volag Nok, the prison where Balthazar had been kept. The Doctor is then arrested for his many outstanding convictions and is sentenced to 2 billion years in prison. Martha is about to be sentenced as well for piracy in the previous episode. I don't know how the episodes are broken down, to be honest. The actual governor of the prison is the Doctor's cellmate, while a former prisoner named Gurney is acting as the governor. The real governor takes this as evidence that all the prisoners in Volag Nok are beyond redemption and need to die, which the Doctor manages to stop, but then Gurney takes the last Dragon Ball with him. While Gurney tries to force Martha to take him with them on the TARDIS, Balthazar and Ka arrive to take the final Dragon Ball. Ka is shot and dies, and Balthazar takes the Doctor and Martha prisoner, forcing the Doctor to input the right destination before kicking out the Doctor and leaving him in the snow on the planet Volag Nok was located on. Balthazar forces Martha to explore the falling apart ship for what she needs, and once she reaches the cargo hold, she appears to have found the Doctor. However, the Doctor is outside riding Ka's son Squawk and attacking Balthazar. The Doctor with Martha is actually the Infinite, who is now trying to give Martha her heart's desire. The Doctor manages to make his way to the hold, and Martha and the Doctor both shield their feelings using their willpower, and the Infinite retreats, and the Doctor explains that what the Infinite creates is basically one step beyond an illusion. It's sort of like leprechaun gold. Balthazar makes his way to the hold, where he conjures up a mountain of gold, and the ship that they're on starts to fall apart. I guess the Infinite itself then. The Doctor and Martha get aboard the TARDIS and leave Balthazar. The Doctor knows that Squawk is going to pick up Balthazar and bring him back to the Volag Nok prison, and the episode ends with a repeat of the random numbers game, the end.
All right. You managed to do it in 4 minutes, and I think that was 4 seconds.
Now.
So now we're going to talk about what we liked about this episode, or animated adventure, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, it's a serial.
Right.
Animated serial.
It was very short episodes as part of Totally Doctor Who.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which was, for those of you that don't know, Totally Doctor Who was kind of a Doctor Who talk show that was geared towards the younger audience.
Almost a Blue Peter-esque.
Kind of, but it was built more. It was focusing on the fandom itself of Doctor Who at that point.
Instead of just general kids stuff, yeah.
7 to 10-year-old, yes. It started, I believe, the 2nd season of Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
I think it lasted throughout the RTD era. So it went away after Series 4. So let's talk about what we liked about it. Bill, you're first.
Okay, so I like that this was a story off of Earth with some alien species. Obviously, that was really helped by the fact that it was animated, but I was so happy when they landed on a planet and, 2 of the 3 species they see are not human. And it's, I mean, obviously Doctor Who does aliens, but more often than not the aliens are humans. So I liked the amount of different aliens they run into here, which again, it was a lot easier to do when you don't need to worry about a makeup budget.
Yeah, taking advantage of the medium that they were using.
It wasn't set in London or Cardiff.
It wasn't set in London or Cardiff in the 21st century. Yeah.
Right.
You do see Earth at the beginning of it, and at one point they're apparently going to go to Copacabana Beach, but we never actually see it.
Yeah.
But it's mentioned, and that's about it. Other than that, this takes place completely out in the cosmos. All right. So, Alex, what did you like?
Well, by contrast to last week, I actually really liked the animation. Like again, like the humans are obviously still very like cheap Flash animation, but it doesn't bother me at all.
It's cheap, but it's not as cheap. The animation, by the way, was done by Cosgrove Hall, who has a very long and storied animation history, and have done some of the Doctor Who reconstructions.
Cheap 2D animation doesn't have the same uncanny valley aspect to it as what we got last week.
Yeah, and like it's kind of funny because even the only ones who really look cheap are just the humans. Everything else looks really good, despite the fact that it's clearly still cheap animation. Like the giant praying mantis thing, the frog alien. Like
there's
the
only 3
robots
humans,
all look
I think.
good.
Yeah, Martha did not look bad.
Yeah.
Neither did
4. Calico's human, wasn't she?
Yeah, she didn't look bad either. Nor did what's his face, the fake governor.
Gurney.
Gurney.
Yeah.
It was really only the Doctor because they added those weird like orange slice cheekbones.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they hadn't added those, I think it would have actually made it a lot better.
Yeah, even then, it's nowhere near as bad as the just Dreamland.
Oh, nowhere at all near as bad. No, that's my only complaint about the animation is if they hadn't done that. It's like they took the picture of David Tennant that had some bad lighting going on and used that to render to get their animated image for the Doctor. But the eyes were expressive. The characters actually had expressions.
Yeah.
Which beat the crap out of Dreamland automatically. You could tell when Martha was frowning and thinking,
You're right.
You could tell without having them say, I'm thinking about this. No. This one, you actually had visual cues and it worked. All right, Matt, how about you? What did you like?
I like that. I obviously like the previous one. This is made for kids, but I like that. Much like Sarah Jane, they don't really pull back on the punches on this one. They have a lot of detail,
you just stole it right under from me, Matt.
There's a lot of detail, and this could still be technically like a more family-friendly or a kid-friendly episode Doctor Who, and still kind of feel like it meshed in well.
Yeah. This could have been an episode. It was more Sarah Jane adventure-y than regular Doctor Who-y. If you know what I mean. But it still was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we like Sarah Jane Adventure so much, because even though it is made for kids, much like this, they don't like think lesser of the viewers.
The writing is still good, it's just the villains are slightly cheesier.
So villains are maybe slightly cheesier, or maybe they don't get as blatant with the visuals, so to speak.
Yeah, so
when grim stuff happens.
Yeah, so essentially a classic Who turn to a point.
Almost.
Although, I would like to point something out. That Infinite Quest put skeletons in spacesuits a full season before
Yes.
Doctor Who actually did.
Oh,
Yep.
yep. No.
Yeah. That did occur to me of like, wow, they really do love that visual in Doctor Who, don't they?
Hmm. I'm thinking they pulled it off for this, and they went, that was really striking. Do you think we could actually do this on the show?
I'm sure there's a way to do it, and then the skeleton mask came out, and we put someone in a suit.
And then they came up with the whole thing for Silence in the Library.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of course, then they had to make that even cheesier by having it go, "Hey, who put out the lights?" repeatedly, but
Right.
that's neither here nor there. Oh.
Which that was probably RTD, just judging by how in tune it is with the rest of his era.
So, I'm going to make a controversial what I liked about this episode.
Mm.
I liked Balthazar.
Mm.
Balthazar was voiced by Anthony Head. Who, those of you that don't know who Anthony Head is, he used to be Anthony Stewart Head and was Giles on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Ah.
And he was the Bat Dude in series
headmaster
2 of Doctor Who.
In School Reunion. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And School Reunion already showed us how freaking awesome a master Anthony Head would have been. This could be his second CV for that role. Because think about this. Take out the character of Balthazar and put in the master. Only make it more of a, Roger Delgado master than a John Sims. And he would fit this perfectly. There's
and instead of just seeking out gold, he's seeking out maybe like something else to give him more lives, or who will maybe just even a new TARDIS or something. You never know. Yeah, just something to give him more power.
Although if it were the master, then there would have definitely been a time travel element, because this seems like the whole thing is set more or less in the same time zone, just in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, the personality of Balthazar and the personality of the Master were actually pretty compatible. And that smooth way that Anthony Head has of talking really made Balthazar more villainy, less cheesy, even though he was pretty damn cheesy.
Made the ship himself,
All right, so let's talk about what we disliked about the serial.
So what I did not like was that this is partially due to the format that it was in, is that once you watch it all at once, it feels like all of their problems are resolved really quickly. I think the biggest example of this is the second planet that they land on with the frog guy, where they pretty much just like, oh yeah, we're pirates and we're also surrendering. All right, deuces. Oh look, Balthazar came off screen and killed the frog guy for us. We're out. There was not really any conflict for the Doctor there, and I feel like that does hurt it a little bit. I know that's partially because of the it was in very short episodes, so they had to get things done more quickly. But I think a little bit more conflict in those stops would have been a little better. And I think that's also why it starts to become a little less episodic and more serialized in the latter half, where everything just kind of runs in together instead of being on all these separate stops, because I think they realize that.
Yeah. I could basically flow mine right out of that, because mine, it's nitpicky, but like piggybacking off of the wording Bill had, is that I feel like this would have been better if this had been like a 3 or 4 episode thing where the episodes were a half hour each.
Yeah,
so
but mind you,
we had
totally Doctor Who was only a half hour.
Right, yeah. again, like, so I guess like if this was done outside of the confines of that,
And that's what
uh,
Dreamland came to be, and it sucked.
because like, yeah, if this had been essentially a classic Who serial of like at bare minimum, like maximum 4 parts, minimum 3, I felt like this could have worked a lot better. Like I think I almost thought like one per, like an episode per setting. Then I'm like, oh, the first one it would basically be like establishing Balthazar and the oil planet, and then an episode entirely on the bug alien planet, and then the last one in the, like, I guess if you made it 4, you would have like an episode set primarily in the prison, and then like a sort of the fourth one being like them actually getting to the infinite and what happens there. But
So you're saying if
otherwise
it
on
was
the third
structured like
part,
a classic Who story, yeah.
yeah.
Although even if you take the modern Who formula and you did 2 42-minute episodes, where maybe episode 1 ends at the end of the Mantis planet, and then episode 2 is everything in the prison and after, there would still be a lot more breathing room.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where like I wouldn't want like a modern Who length 3-parter because that would be too long for this. But like an old Who 3-parter or 4-parter would probably work.
All right, Matt.
I guess mine kind of lines up with Bill's a bit. That it's the only thing I can fault this thing on is the fact that everything has to wrap up so quickly, because mostly due to the format that this was created for, where this is basically even shorter than the animation segments from Super Mario Brothers Super Show. And those were the main reasons you watched that show. It's not for the live action bits; it's to watch the cartoon for the day.
That's actually a really good comparison for totally Doctor Who, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, though, it was more reversed for the Super Mario show. The cartoon ran for most of the length, and there were just commercial in-out bits with the live action with Captain Lou Albano and whoever the fuck it was that played Luigi.
Yeah, I can't think of his name right now. I know I've heard that he's around out there, but yeah.
Yeah, all we care about is who's playing Mario. Fuck Luigi.
Oh. The Luigi stare from Mario Kart.
But that's the way it did it. This, I mean, it was just a brief thing. It was kind of like if any of you have ever seen the Star Wars holiday special.
Yeah, just basically a segment out of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's about that time of year to rewatch it.
Stir, whip, 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 stir.
To watch it and gag. I'm sorry, that was bad.
Watch it and realize this is where the prequel trilogy came from.
It's where Boba Fett came from.
It is, but
actually, Boba Fett was in a cut scene from the first movie.
Yeah, but I don't think that was filmed until the 90s.
No, it was filmed. It was there. It was a scene with Harrison Ford before the scene we actually get introduced to the Millennium Falcon. He literally
steps. The one where he's talking to Jabba?
Yeah, the scene where he's talking to Jabba. If you watch carefully in the background, you see Boba Fett. What's that, Bill?
It was when they had the hairy Jabba because they didn't know what Jabba was going to look like.
Yep.
No, they didn't even have that. They just had a guy playing them.
Yeah, he was in like a hairy suit.
No, he was like in like a. I'm not even sure what kind of suit it was. It looked like almost medievalish, but they just really did not know what to do with him.
Yeah, and they just CGI'd over
and
him.
And then, essentially they just added CGI over him to add that scene back in.
That doesn't count. That doesn't count. It does actually. The holiday special is what introduced Boba Fett to it, because that was the first thing that actually aired with Boba
Mm.
Fett in it. If you go by air date.
Hmm.
It was that Empire, and then the special edition for Empire Jedi, then the special edition original Star Wars, like 10 years later.
Is it sad that new people to the franchise don't know that, and yet we are sitting here debating that right now?
I mean, they have kind of scrubbed the.
Well, no.
holiday
What's
special
really
off the face of
pathetic
the
is
earth.
that we're debating this on a Doctor Who podcast.
I guess
And
we
The
do have
state
plenty
of the
time,
show,
so
ladies and
changes
gentlemen.
were
And
bound to
that's why
happen.
I haven't brought up Boba Fett's first live action appearance, because it's neither here nor there.
Okay.
So, anywho.
But, it's something equivalent to that, where it was just a brief bit in Totally Doctor Who. I mean, what was it, like 5 to 7 minutes?
We got something like that.
Oh, dang it. I actually knew how long each of these were, but
these were 3.5 minutes each. So there was 13 of them.
So they were 3.5 minutes each for 13 episodes.
Yeah.
Now think about that. This actually ran for about 45 minutes put together.
It ran for 3 months.
Can you imagine watching this in 3.5 minute chunks?
No. That'd be weird.
I remember at the time when it was coming out, I literally just could not keep my interest on it because I just couldn't wait long enough for the show to finish.
Yeah, I think I tried. I think I got about halfway through it.
I got 2 episodes in.
I do not think there's a cliffhanger every 3.5 minutes.
I think my problem was also the fact that I could not get regular access to Totally Doctor Who. Whereas I could get every Doctor... Because this was the point where I was getting this stuff via torrent. Because at this point, I think they had just announced that the Sci-Fi Channel had picked up the license. And the first 2 seasons, of course, there was no domestic stuff, but that still meant that they had to go through the first 2 seasons of Doctor Who before they even got to this stuff. Totally Doctor Who was still not being broadcast at all in North America. So my only access to it was by torrent. But it was a low priority torrent. So
it wasn't even on BBC One, so there were less eyes on it in the first place.
Correct. So I could get like episode 1, 2, 5, 6, 9,
At that point, it's like, these are only too soft, forget it.
Yeah. Once I missed 2 or 3 of them, I'm just like, no, I can't do anymore. I was annoyed, but, what could I do? And then later on, they released them on DVD.
Right.
But by that point, I'd forgotten all about it. It wasn't really canonical to the show, so...
Yeah, that's also another kind of thing to mention, that this is a pretty safe episode. It's very much in its own little pocket episode.
Anyway, were we at Matt's, or?
I just finished.
Yes.
So...
Yep.
All right. So what I didn't like, actually, I'm gonna pass.
It's pretty much the same ones.
So our only complaint was that there wasn't more of it.
That it wasn't timed better, I think, is the best way to put
the better
it.
way to put it, is that because of the particular format, there was not enough time for it to be properly fleshed out.
I mean, you could do this. This technically ran for about the equivalent of a regular Doctor Who episode.
Right.
But they had to pace it in these 3.5 minute chunks.
Yeah.
If they didn't have to pace it within that chunks, they could have spent more times on some things and less times on others.
And because of that, also, like in a classic Who serial, if they found a dead body, they might have spent 3 minutes looking over that dead body, talking over how it might have died, talking about the potential
Mm.
ramifications, but you couldn't spend an entire 3.5-minute chunk of a kid's show, standing over a dead body talking.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are up to favorite scene.
So I'm going to say my favorite scene is when the mate decides to start his mutiny, and they're like, we don't work for the oil company, right? Oh, well, I don't care. And if you want to join me, you'll get more money than working for the pirate. It was just a funny sequence, and it was a creative way to get out of that situation. And it was all the better by the fact that these were skeleton pirates.
Actually, one of my three choices is not far from there, but I will talk about that one if that comes up. Alex.
I feel like I had a different one, but this just makes me laugh so much that I'm gonna have to go with it instead. And it's when the doctor sort of flies in at the end and sort of crashes, and
Okay, that was my backup.
Balthazar's talking to Squawk or whatever, and the doctor just throws something at him and knocks him over.
The face mask thingy.
Yeah, he just chucks it at him and knocks him over. Just something about the doctor doing that.
Mask thing. Did it remind anybody of what we would see the following season on the Half?
Oh, kinda.
Hmm.
Now
Fair.
to mention it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of ideas for Series 4 actually came out of the Infinite Quest.
Wouldn't be surprised.
It's not exactly the same thing, but at the same time, it's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Matt, your favorite scene?
So that was my backup. My initial scene, Doctor first shows up, starts talking to the pirate, and then literally produces a spoon, and the pirate just snaps the spoon. Oh, I wouldn't have done that. It's practically an antique, but there's other issues.
Mine. That was mine.
That's one of yours. Okay.
Yeah, that is such a doctor scene.
That very much so. Yes. I didn't even have to lift a finger to defend myself from this man. He just literally destroyed his own ship by being rude.
All right, so since I'm down to two, I will mention the two I had. One is when Balthazar is forcing Martha into the ship at the end. Just because I like the interplay between the two. It is very Master forcing the Doctor's companion to something. And again, the smoothness of Balthazar's voice, even at the end where he's like, girly, and then very reluctantly uses her name. It's something I could very much have seen Delgado's Master doing. So I liked that bit. And then the other one I liked was with the, I think, what was it, Swabby? Comes up after the ship had been bombarded, and it's just like, well, working for the company for 5 years means I'm due for a new body. You know what? I think I'll take yours. It looks nice and slinky. I'm like, wow. Stealing a body and sexually harassing the current owner all at once.
On a kid's show.
On a kid's show.
Like I said, they didn't hold back the punches on this.
Yeah. Oh, there was also another moment I had there I'd forgotten about. Oh. And that is right when the pirate ship first shows up, it's like, you might want to hold on to something, and the Doctor and Martha grab each other.
I meant the rail.
Yeah. I feel like
that whole bit was just great.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of my backups probably would have been moments when either Martha suggested something and the Doctor was like, yes, you're brilliant. Or like the bit where they're not sure what to do when the oil rigs come after them, and then the two like hook shots come out, and he's
Doctor's like,
assuming Martha's
yeah.
doing it.
My third one is he landed in the sand. I think he's all right, and then Matey starts shouting up at them.
Yes.
Yep, he's fine.
Whole bit is just great. From beginning to end, it is hysterical, yet perfectly in character.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now we have a hard part of least favorite scene.
So my least favorite scene, it has a part that has to do with the logic of the story, and it has a part that has to do with the restraints of the format. And that's the scene where I think his name is Locke, is basically like, okay, time to massacre all of the prisoners because this prison obviously isn't working. And the Doctor resolves that by, I forget, hacking or reversing the polarity or whatever.
Basically hacking the computer. He's like, skill.
In the story logic, stopping one order isn't going to make a much difference when you're about to leave, and he's still going to be there to put the order back in.
Except that the robot's fried too, so he can't make any more orders.
Well, in that case, that means nobody's in charge of the prison, which still doesn't work given the logic of the story.
Except the warders seem to be working on their own accord.
Yeah. Like, he does kind of hand wave it when he shows back up to Martha, saying that's like, oh yeah, off screen, I fixed all of that.
It's like the guards had been given the order to kill all the prisoners already, unless he was going to disable each and every guard or replace them with someone else. It doesn't seem like it solves the problem.
Yeah. Like, again, if this was a longer story, there definitely would have been more time dedicated to that.
Right.
And do remember, they do mention the Doctor was on that planet for 2 years.
Yeah.
3.
So, 3.
Like,
but that was that was after, right? And then the other issue I have with it is one that they could not have fixed, and it still be a totally Doctor Who one-off. But it's still something that is a missed opportunity, especially if I look at it, in the context of a Doctor Who story. But this probably would not be enough reason to list it on its own, but it's still something I'm going to mention. And that is, they talk about the fact that, the prison isn't rehabilitating people, and that's the whole reason why Locke is like, we need to kill them all. And that would have been a good moment to be like, yeah, keeping people in cages for 600 years isn't going to make them better people. That's not how you do. That's not how you rehabilitate people. Just saying.
Yeah.
Actually, come to think of it, that was really easy message to give across. They could have mentioned it without making it more adult. That was enough.
No, but you can't mention it like that without it getting preachy. Like a Chibnall episode.
Right.
The Doctor has never been afraid to preach at a dictator. Especially for one sentence. I'm not even... I didn't even just give a whole speech there. I gave a sentence.
Still.
Again, I don't know. I might be oversensitive to preachiness now, thanks to Chibnall.
Right.
Anyway, that's the end of mine.
Okay. Alex?
Least
favorite scene.
Got two. I'll just go with this one because it was more like, it's the Dr. Vile thing, to be honest. Like, I don't know, just something about the forced pirate accent is just like, oh god, what are we doing?
Cringe.
It was
which forced pirate accent? David's or Freeman's?
Yeah, David Tennant.
You notice Freeman goes in and he's just like, no, don't.
Yeah.
Don't. Yeah.
And she's just like, R. He's like, don't,
like he's any better.
I did kind of find it funny how, I'm guessing this is intentional because I think David could have done it. But the Doctor seemed to have trouble staying in character for that whole clip. He kept going back and forth between his Doctor accent and his pirate accent. Which is another reason why I don't think it should have worked quite so easily.
No,
And the
no,
funny,
no, 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 no. The lesson learned is Earth Command is gullible. It's literally an "oh baby, you are so talented and they are so dumb" moment.
Yeah.
yeah,
They're so
yeah.
stupid.
Yeah. And it's like you would think in other things he would have just disguised his voice like mechanically, like I don't know, just
Or
hand
at the
waving
very
the
least
sonic
wrap
and
half his
puppet it.
face up or something to try and hide it a little bit.
Yeah. Uh,
But again, 3.5 minutes.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Matt, your least favorite scene.
I'm trying to think of something I didn't care much for. And even the bad stuff is immediately like gets karma'd, so I don't have a particularly bad thing to say about this episode. I have to skip.
All right. I think my least favorite scene is when they're talking to the bird on that planet, and they take off, or are talking to Caw,
Mm.
and they take off in the TARDIS, and it reveals that Balthazar was hiding behind the TARDIS
Yeah, that kind of
because it is
immediately ruins the surprise.
because it's such a easy villain thing.
That too.
Yeah.
It's such a Dick Dastardly thing.
Also because of how the also because of how the animation works, it almost looked like he was literally standing where the TARDIS is like disappearing from,
Mm-hmm.
rather
Mhm.
than behind it.
Ah, the
It,
easily
it
bamboozled doctor. I was behind your TARDIS the whole time.
yeah, it's just such a cheesy villain 101 thing that it was just like, oh god.
Which is
And the
kind of funny
doctor
when you
felt
think about it, because if this was the Master, you could just have him like walk out of seemingly nowhere, and it turns out that he's just camouflaged his TARDIS to be invisible or something,
mhm.
Actually,
Or there's
or
like
like a nearby rock or something.
it would be
rock or a
perfect the way it
wall.
was, and he's just standing there and going, "Ha ha ha, doctor! As usual, you are so naive."
Oh please no, let's not give the master from Curse of Fatal Death.
That's a line from regular Doctor Who, not just Curse of Failed Death.
I know, but the way you put it was pretty much like that master. I was almost saying, you left the comms on, I can hear you.
The dog bumps.
Haven't watched that in a dog's age.
I feel we need to watch it again.
I haven't watched it since we reviewed it. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's everything to final thoughts.
Okay. Final thoughts. I guess now's as good a time as ever to mention. The first time I watched this, I think I was watching a playlist that had actually, it was 13 3.5 minute videos. And I think for whatever reason, it was just choppy enough to make it confusing for me. I probably didn't watch it all in one sitting either, which doesn't help. So I actually thought that Martha and the doctor had been separate for 3.5 years Martha time. And that they had both aged that amount of time. Although rewatching it, it's very clearly it's only been like half an hour for Martha, and it was 3 years for the doctor. Although that does emphasize the fact that the doctor is lying about his age. Um,
Always
but
has been.
yeah, so that doesn't really say anything about this story. It was just something interesting from the first time I watched it. But yeah, it's a fairly good story. There's definitely some minor hiccups, which have a lot to do with the fact that it was released in 3.5 minute clips. Probably could be stronger if it was 5 minute clips instead or something, but for whatever reason, that's the
7,
decision
yeah.
they made. Yeah. But yeah, there's no real strong complaints. And I'm having trouble deciding if it's quite good enough for a one of the higher tiers of rating Which of course I'm not going to be able to follow anybody else, so I need to make that decision with no input. And yeah, that's about all I have to say.
All right. Alex?
Yeah, like this was the first and second time I had ever watched this, and it's so funny how, despite the fact that this came before Dreamland, watching them in the order I did has been like, oh my god, this is a marked improvement. Like, I mean,
Instead of
it helps
being a
that there's
marked
no,
devolution. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, um, I mean, for one thing, I guess the funny thing that never came up is that by virtue of it, by virtue of it being pretty much completely in space, there's no problems like Dreamland where there's a lot of fuck ups historically, um, and stuff like that. And yeah, just like again, the animation's better. Hell, the CG animation in this, cheap
Mm-hmm.
as it is a hell of a lot better than Dreamland. Like even the aliens look way better in this, in something that was made like a few years earlier. And like in Flash or whatever.
Majority of it in
Then
Flash for sure.
so yeah. So it's just like, it's just kind of amazing. Like again, it is one of those things that the main thing that drags it down for me is just that this feels like if this was conceived instead as something that was supposed to be multi-part 20 to 30 minute episodes and like bare minimum at least 3, maximum 4, that this would have been a lot better because you'd be able to spend more time in the locations. Because like there's a lot of things of like, oh no, Kaliko, who we've only known for like 5 minutes, if that. Like, you know, like, oh no, the frog dude, who again we've only really known for a couple of minutes. It's like it's
5
just a
minutes, that's 3 weeks.
bit. But yeah, it's just so funny that it's just like they try to pass it off as their deaths being somehow significant when we barely knew the characters at all. Um, but yeah, like I mean, Core makes a bit more sense because at least he's there more throughout and he has more of a connection with Martha to a point. But even then, he's not that much. But yeah, like I would definitely say that like Dreamland, you can just absolutely just ignore that it exists. Infinite Quest, I would absolutely recommend people actually give a shot if they can find it. Like as I've said off stream, I forget if I ever brought it up on stream, but at least in Australia, it's on BritBox.
Mm.
They've made
So
it more awkward to find, but it is on BritBox in Australia at
It's
least.
interesting because Infinite Quest is kind of treated like the little bitch of Dreamland. It's like, you get the thing. It's Doctor Who Dreamland with the Infinite Quest. Like, fuck that. Infinite Quest is better.
Way better.
I mean, like,
Should
is it
be the Infinite
necessarily
Quest
great?
with
No,
Dreamland.
but yeah. Like, it's not necessarily. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's great, but it is a damn sight better than Dreamland in almost every conceivable way.
All right. Matt?
I do agree that the major problem with this particular episode is the particular format that it came out in. That makes the writing and the timing of things suffer a little bit. But that being said, if that's the only negative, and it's technically the only negative, and it's a small one, to be honest, everything else being so good and so well written and so well animated, despite any kind of low budgets, etc., just outdoes it. This is far and away better than Dreamland by a long mile. Definitely highly recommend this one, even if it is just kind of its own standalone episode kind of deal if you watch it online.
All right. Anything else, Matt?
That about covers it.
So, what I have to say about this, if this had been intended as a pilot, or a backdoor pilot for an animated Doctor Who series, I would have greenlit that son of a bitch based on this.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
I would have been waiting to see what the reactions were, and I guarantee that most of them were very positive and just gone, "Yep, go."
Watching Dreamland is almost painful.
Yeah.
It is very
Watching
cheese.
this is get me some popcorn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Get me some popcorn and a drink because I'm just going to sit back and enjoy this. The acting is great. Everybody involved seems to, be acting their hearts out. The animation, while not absolutely wonderful, is passable.
Mm-hmm.
And while the story has timing issues due to its format,
Easily
it's
greenlighting
still
this for
very
a full
enjoyable.
series would get past those issues very quickly.
Yeah.
Mm.
This is probably some of the most enjoyable animated Doctor Who I've seen. And that includes most of the reconstructions, because the reconstructions have other things holding them back.
A little bit.
That is the fact that they're building those scenes based on a bunch of stills.
Yeah.
So
Then they're also trying to limit it to what was possible from the original Doctor Who shows. They're not going too crazy with it. This was this, on the other hand, is them going, "What can we do with animation? Go! It's on a budget though, so make it within your budget."
Yeah.
This was great. It was some of it was amazing. I actually did feel when the bird died.
A little bit,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, yeah. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
So I was like, I thought that was great. I enjoyed this one really thoroughly. And other than those little couple of nitpicks that we mentioned, and you quickly learn to ignore the frickin' orange slices on Tennant's face.
Right. It does bother you a little bit, but you get past it in certain angles very quickly.
That's their way of making him look skinny.
Yeah. And if I was there, it's like, drop those, then you're good. All right, so let's rate it, and yeah, Bill, you're first.
No pressure.
So I'm thinking in the past we've given a half a point to things that on Sarah Jane that we wouldn't necessarily to full Doctor Who. So in that same spirit, I will give this a 4.5 out of 5.
4.5. Okay. Alex?
It's funny. I was almost thinking of going half a point lower than that. But the more I think about it, when the only real main issue I have is just that I would like, as we said, is that I would just kind of want more of it rather than less or anything. Yeah, I'm going to have to keep that train going and say 4.5 as well.
4.5. Matt?
I had pretty much decided 4.5 before anyone said a word, so yeah. 4.5, easy.
We have reached consensus.
Consensus.
It is a full 2 points higher than Dreamland.
Yep.
Eat it, Dreamland. Eat it.
Yeah. We've 4.5s makes this a 4.5. And that will rocket this, whereas Dreamland was hanging by the bottom of our charts, sitting at around 382, this is going up near the top. Not the absolute top, but looks like this will be coming in at about 71.
Whew.
Jesus.
Climb 300 places. There you go.
71 out of 410 things reviewed. It is on par with a lot of shit. It is on par with Paradise Towers, Rose, The Woman Who Fell to Earth, War Machines, The Invasion, the Rebos Operation, Thin Ice, World Enough in Time, The Doctor Falls, Mission to the Unknown, Resolution, Enlightenment, New Earth, Utopia, Here Comes the Drums, Last of the Time Lords, and the Zygon Invasion, Zygon versus. Those are some of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, that's some of our favorite of the last couple of years. So yeah, there we go.
It is better than The Green Death
Mm.
and not as good as The Seeds of Death and The Talons of Wang Chiang, which, yes, had some casual racism, but was the product of its time.
Yeah.
It was a very good episode other than that.
Yes.
So, there we go. 71 out of 410. That is all we've got to say about the Infinite Quest. Good show.
Very nicely done. Bill, take us out.
Yes. All right, yes, please let us know in the comments what do you think of the Infinite Quest. And don't forget to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube and ring the bell to get notifications. Also, don't forget to like the video in order to help share it around. And if you want to see us on Twitch every Tuesday night, don't forget to follow us.
All right, so next week, actually there is no next week. We will be taking that week off to spend time with friends and family during the holiday season. But in 2 weeks, you can join us as we will be reviewing the New Year's special, Eve of the Daleks. Written by Chris Chibnall and starring Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, Mandeep Gill as Yasmin Khan, and John Bishop as Dan Lewis. So see you in 2 weeks.
An hour and
See you then.
15 minutes. Good night, everybody.